In this video, we're going to talk about managing temporal phases inside Revit. So how we can basically manage time and different parts of our project that's going to appear or disappear in a particular phase of our project. So phases can help us to distinguish different timing in our project. You can see here an example. So this one here at the top left is the original apartment, if we want to consider this as an apartment, but could be any architectural project, of course. So this is the status before the work that has been done, and this one here is post operam, which means after the work. So this is before the work, and it's called in Latin ante operam, and this is after, it's called post operam, and this is what happens in between, which is inter operam. And in this case, what happens in between, that walls and doors and other components have been demolished and others have been constructed. So the demolished here are appearing with this dashed line in red, and the new construction, it's blue. Now these colors can be set up by you using, again, the Phases Manager panel that you can find in the Manage tab, Phasing Phases. There it is. So I'm gonna create some phasing with you. So this is right now are in Italian, so I'm gonna change this right away. I'm gonna call them like original or status and project. Well, you can give any names to them anyway. And we're gonna get back to this. So you have project phases, you have phase filters, and you have graphic overrides. This is where you decide how things are gonna be colored in your project. So let's say apply. Now this was our previous lesson where we talk about details and creating annotations, various types of annotations like text and tags for the doors, the windows, the rooms. So I'm gonna close this here. I'm gonna just leave the plan view. I'm gonna zoom on this area. So we also inserted these room tags, which are pretty useful in my opinion because they give you the square meter. So for example, if I want to do a project here and I want to say, okay, maybe I want to enlarge this room here, but I want to get rid of the kitchen. So what I can do is select a wall and start to move it, and as I move it, the room tag is going to change. It's going to show me the actual square meters, and this is pretty useful even before I start to demolish and recreate walls, just to get an idea of how many square meters I can go here with this room and how many I can subtract from the kitchen. So this is, again, something I think that it's pretty useful to try to figure out what your project is gonna be. So let's say that this is the status quo. Now this is again a Latin term, but feel free to call it whatever you want. And so how can I understand here where I'm at in the talking about phases? So the first thing, let's create a copy, because well, this is something I usually do with everything so that I always can get back to the original. So I'm gonna duplicate this and use with detailing, so it's gonna bring back, also some annotations and rooms and so on. So I'm gonna call this, rename it, I'm gonna call this ground floor plan view 1 to 50, and let's well, I'll call this status quo. Okay, or maybe I can do something even simpler and set this to before. Okay, so this is what happens before my actual project. This is what it's there, and I want to make sure that I'm actually there. So I need to check the view properties. So if you go in the view properties all the way down, if we close all these tabs, you will find the phasing part. Now this is where you assign a particular phase to a particular view. So right now I'm using this one here. I'm calling this before, and in my phases this corresponds to the status quo, which is the first phase. So my project is gonna start using time here, and then it's gonna proceed to project. This is how I set up this. Now I can always go back and change that, but right now I'm calling this status. Say apply. So I can see that in my status phase there's nothing. I cannot see any structure here, any building. So let me get back to project, which is my actual project, and let me change the phase also on the components. So you need to work with phases in these three panels. The first panel is where you manage the phases, the filters, and the graphic overrides. Second one is the view panel, property panel, where you can get here and change these parameters. The third panel is the one for the objects or the components or the families. You can call them how you like it. So for example, if I select this building here, which looks a little bit older than the other, I selected everything. I want to bring it to the before phase or the status quo. So I can click here in the filter. I need to get rid of things that cannot be moved in time. So I'm gonna get rid of room separation, room tags, and also rooms. I'm just gonna keep the rectangular solid wall opening and walls. Okay, I think I cannot change here this one, so I'm just gonna bring the walls. So I'm selecting just the walls right now, and again, if I go into properties, all the way down, you can see that phase created, project, phase demolished, none. So when you select objects, you have these two status. One is when it was created, and one when it was demolished. In this case, I want to create it in the status, so the first phase, and demolished during the project. So right now I am in the view that's showing me the project. So you can see here it's showing me the project. But if I change that to status, you can see that I can only see what's in this view, which is the thing that were there before I actually started my project. Now, to make it simpler, I'm gonna go back to the phases and I'm gonna call this before. Okay, so before my project, let's call this after my project. And then we can insert more phases. So you can insert it before or after. Let's insert it before. There you go. And this one here, we'll call it in between phases. Okay. Or you can call it the way it's going to be simpler for you. So you can continue to add phases before and after if you want. You can add like 10 phases or 20, but in my opinion, don't exaggerate because it's gonna get messy there. But you can call this like preparation phase. Remember that Revit is management tool, so you can use it for many reasons. Okay, so let's say that, okay, I'm